They say that only the dead buy things from the collector of forgotten faces. It's not the kind of story you want to hear as twilight deepens and the shops begin to close up for the night. But here it is anyway, because some stories have to be told. It begins in the market. The collector is always there when the sun dips below the rooftops, silhouetting the stalls and making the tiles gleam like gold. And he is always the same. Tall and thin, with long, spidery limbs that seem too long for his body, a shock of white hair under a wide-brimmed hat, and a face covered by a porcelain mask that has no features except two empty eye sockets. No one knows what he looks like underneath, or even if there is a person at all underneath. Some whisper that he's an emaciated spirit, some say a demon, but most agree that he isn't any kind of creature they'd want to meet in a dark alley. Still, people come to him. They come to him with their pictures, photographs of themselves, their loved ones, their friends, their pets, their lives. In exchange, they get cold, hard gold, real gold that weighs heavy in their hands and has no faces on it, just a stamp that says, "Remember me." The first time I saw him, I was buying bread. He stood over a pile of coins, haggling with a young woman over a photo of her and a boy I assumed was her son. She was crying. He was trying to hand her a pouch of gold in exchange for the picture, but she kept backing away from him, clutching the photograph to her chest like a shield. "No, this is my boy," she said, her voice cracking. "He's alive. He's with me every day." The collector tilted his head, which made his hat fall forward, covering his eyes. When he lifted it back up, the woman flinched. "Ah, for a mother to forget her child," he said, his voice a hollow rasp like dry leaves skittering across stone. "That is a heavy price." She screamed and ran then, dropping the picture and the gold, fleeing into the crowded market street. The collector didn't reach after her, didn't even seem to care that she ran off. Instead, he picked up the photo and slipped it into his sleeve. Then he sat back, waiting for the next customer. That was almost 20 years ago. And now the story has come full circle because I am about to sell him my picture. I know what people are thinking. Why would I do that? What kind of monster would trade his own face for gold? Well, the truth is, I have no other choice. The collector takes only photographs of living people. And once he buys an image, it's gone forever. Friends and family lose all memory of the person whose picture was taken, as if they were never alive, never spoken of again. I already lost my brother to the collector. He traded his image to pay for our father's surgery. It wasn't much money, but it was all we had. And for a moment, when our father smiled at him, weak and wan as he was, it seemed worth it. But then he looked away, and his smile faded. He didn't recognize me or our brother. He didn't remember our names. And the worst part was, it didn't hurt him. He wasn't sad. He just didn't remember. That's why I'm going back to the market. That's why I'm trading my face to him tonight. Because my sister is sick, and I need the gold to pay for her medicine. The sky is the color of bruises, and the wind is keening through the shuttered shops. I found the collector in the fish market, of all places, standing by a stall that hadn't done any business all day. The fish were fresh, glistening in the gloom, and the old man selling them was sweating, wiping his forehead with a grimy cloth. "You shouldn't be here," the man said when he saw me. "He doesn't take pictures of ghosts." "I'm not a ghost," I whispered, clutching the photograph to my chest. "Not yet." The old man nodded slowly. "Well, then be careful." I approached the collector, keeping my eyes on his empty sockets, and I heard a gull cry out overhead. It sounded like a scream. I offered him the photo. He took it without a word and examined it as if it were peeling paint on a wall. Then he looked up at me, and finally, I dared to look at him. His eyes were bottomless pits of swirling darkness. And I felt my soul stir within me, yearning to be set free of this life, to be unburdened, to go to him, But I bit my lip and held myself fast, remembering my sister's smiling face, the way she used to braid my hair before we went out to play. He reached out a finger, beckoning me closer. I leaned in and he pressed something into my palm. It was ice cold and heavy. I opened my hand and saw that it was a coin. On one side, the effigy of a king with a familiar face, and on the other, the words, "Remember me."